Very few subjects are the subject of more concern and chagrin for people within the Western culture than the Great White Throne Judgment. Welcome back to the Jeff Daugherty Show, Christian Whistleblower, New Cosmic Knowledge YouTube channel. And I want to talk with you today about the Great White Throne Judgment. You can see there he's made a list. He's checked it twice. We're looking at the Great White Throne Judgment. I'm the Christian Whistleblower, Jeff Daugherty. I do hope that you'll take a chance to watch the rest of the videos on this channel. We're over 500 now, and I do hope that you'll take the time to study and learn. We're here to help you unwind your mind, unindoctrinate yourself, so we can all be excellent to each other. But the Great White Throne Judgment, that's the thing we're all worried about. It's the thing we're all dreading if we have been raised and still believe in this Christian paradigm. Let's take a look at the Great White Throne Judgment, and let's see if we can't put your mind at ease somewhat and give you an idea of what's really going on with the Great White Throne Judgment. And I saw a great white throne and him that sat on it, from whose face the heavens and the earth fled away, and there was found no place for them. Just searching for my notes so we can make sure we get this in great detail for you, because there is some good stuff here that doesn't jump to the eye. And there was found no place for them. I saw the dead, small and great, stand before God. Books were opened. Another book was opened, book of life. Dead were judged out of those things which are written in the books according to their works. Sea gave up the dead. Death and hell gave up the dead. Every man was judged according to their works. Death and hell thrown in the lake of fire. Second death, whoever is not found written in the book of life was cast into the lake of fire. Thus, the worry, the concern, the chagrin of many people, many persons over this scenario. The first thing I want to point out to you is that for some crazy, strange, odd reason, the UFO, ET, alien agenda is continued even in this picturing of the final judgment, the Great White Throne Judgment here in Revelation. And even if we look at our picture here, and of course this is something that I created, but still, if you look at the guy, it almost looks like he's up there on some type of a spaceship, doesn't it? Which is very interesting, because as we read in the Greek, and we're going to go up here to interlinear, we're going to go to Revelation 20 and 11. And what we read is that, and I saw a throne. Now, does that mean like a king's throne? Well, it means a throne, a seat, a meton, something that a power and dominion and a potentate would use. It's really a throne and a seat. And by implication, it is of kingly power and royalty. A stately seat. And see, they're calling it a throne, but it's not really a throne. It's a stately seat. And by implication, a seat of power. A seat for a potentate. So while throne is certainly an accepted rendering, it's certainly not the only rendering. And I saw a throne that was great. And this means in the widest possible application. It was great. It was wow, man. It was big. It was blow your mind. It was totally freaking awesome. So it means that they saw this thing that was totally freaking awesome, and it was white. It was really shiny, bright, and brilliant. And somebody was sitting on it. There was somebody sitting on it. They were seated. They were enthroned. They dwelt or resided within it. And from whose face fled the earth and the sky. The sky and the earth fled away from it. The sky and the earth, there was no place found for them. Now, if you remember what it looks like in Star Trek or something when they go to warp, it's like, the earth and the heavens flee. And they're not in the same place anymore. So if you look at it with a 21st century mindset and a 21st century perspective, and not that of a first century perspective, then you can very easily see the ET UFO alien agenda starting with the birth of plastic Jesus, the plagiarized baby Jesus story, right on through here to the very end of the whole baby Jesus / Lord Jesus Christ imagery. You can see they're continuing that UFO ET alien agenda. Why? Well, number one, it creates fear, it creates dread, it creates wonder, it creates awe, it creates desire in the hearts of many people. And it also gives them a technological means of manufacturing a second coming. Think about it. If you're the rat bastard, and if you're new to the channel, the rat bastard is Yahweh, that's right, the Lord Jehovah, Yarduk Yaldabaoth, because he was literally a bastard, no father, and he's a dirty rat. He's been killing. The Christ said he is the first murderer, and that he's been murdering since the beginning, and you can see his trail of blood, rivers of blood, from the beginning of time, including human sacrifice that's accepted by him. All of that's on this channel. Just a thought for another show. I was thinking that Armageddon was called a river of blood. The blood came up to the bridles of the horses. We're going to be thinking about that kind of stuff here coming up. So that just shows you that what kind of person the Lord is, and he's going to try to perpetrate a false flag like he's coming back and taking over the planet. He's going to try to leverage it to do just that. And our big goal and the goal of John in writing the book of Revelation and his Gospels and his 3 epistles was to make sure the information got out so that this false flag could be prevented. So really the work of the Christian whistleblower, the work of New Cosmic Knowledge, could be seen as an extension of the work of the Apostle John. And really an extension of the work of the Christ and his apostles. Is he saying he's the 13th apostle? No, not at all. But it's amazing to see this UFO ET alien imagery continued on even into the Great White Throne Judgement. Now let's take a look. Here's the shining craft that zips in and the heaven and earth is fled away from it. He's sitting on top of it. And again, even our picture kind of shows that imagery. And you can search Great White Throne Judgement art, and you'll get a lot of pictures just like this one. And it even looks like he's got fire coming out of his exhaust there. So, folks, that's... And then I saw the dead. It means corpses, both small and great. Sorry for the yawn. Still getting used to all this, but we're cranking out so much good material. Not complaining, happy to be doing it. Loving every minute of it, in fact. Okay, so I saw the dead, small and great, stand before God. Stand before the person that's on the spaceship. And in classic Admiral Kirk questions, what does God need with a starship? And in Star Trek V, The Final Frontier, which, by the way, was written by and directed by William Shatner, and the plot of the movie is that this fellow right here on the screen, who's named Sybok, who is the brother to Spock, the half-brother, to be correct, of Spock, believes that he's had a vision from God and that he's going to meet God, and he basically hijacks the Enterprise, takes it to the planet where God allegedly is. They get there. Cyborg, Kirk, Spock, McCoy go down to meet God, so to speak. And it looks like, as you can see from the look in his eyes, that Cyborg is taken in. Spock seems to be leaning towards accepting. McCoy has a classic line about, well, after this particular scene, McCoy he decides it's not God because I don't believe in any God that inflicts pain for its own pleasure. So this whole scene, and let's just look for a minute at what Kirk says. You won't be able to hear it because I haven't figured out how to let you hear it yet on my silly setup here. So I'll just narrate it a little bit. So here's Cyborg, and he's saying, "Bring the starship closer to me. Bring the starship closer to me so I might join with it." And Cyborg's like, "It'll be your chariot." And you see Kirk McCoy and Spock over there, kind of nonplussed. And then look at the look on Shatner's face, on Kirk's face. He says, "Excuse me," and I love this. "Excuse me, I'd just like to ask a question." And then he says, "What does God need with a starship?" And God says, "Bring it closer." And Kirk says, "I said, what does God need with a starship?" And then after that, McCoy says, "Well, Jim, you don't ask the Almighty for his ID." And then God says, "Well, who is this creature?" And Kirk's like, "Well, who am I? Aren't you God? Don't you know?" And then God shoots a lightning bolt at him. So this is, you know what? God there is Yaldabaoth. God is the rat bastard. Oh, that's another video right there, Yaldabaoth in Star Trek V. But at any rate, the thing I wonder is Shatner, Jewish by birth, know some people that know him. I've had a chance to meet him. He's a guy that has a lot of spiritual inclination, and I'm just wondering, has Shatner read this? Is Shatner speculating? Is Shatner commentating on the fact that there could be a future God that would try to leverage the use of a starship? And what does God need with a starship? What does God need with a starship? Yet this God has one. Then the books are opened, and the dead are judged out of the things written in those books according to their works. Sea gives up their dead. Hell gives up the dead. And then everybody who's not found written in this journal that God kept, God whips out a book, ladies and gentlemen, a book. And everyone that's not in that book gets cast into the lake of fire. Let's look at that in verse number 15. So God, who is love, created us all, created every one of us, and then he created every one of us so that at the end of the day, in Revelation 20, verse number 15, so that all of us that weren't written in this book might be thrown into a lake of what? Of fire. Eternal fire. Holy fire. Eternal fire. In God's likeness. Well, it is in God's likeness. But it's not the likeness of any true God. And like Captain Kirk asks, I ask you today, isn't he God? Shouldn't he know before he writes the book who's going to be saved and who's going to be lost? Shouldn't God know? He's God. But apparently, This one isn't and doesn't because he's not. He's a fake. He's flawed. He's fallen. He's phony. He's worse than my Shatner impersonation. Do not allow yourself to waste one more second of your life worrying about the Great White Throne Judgment. Do not allow yourself to waste one more millisecond wondering, what am I going to say when they flash in front of the screen for everyone to see my life and I have to answer. Don't for a second worry about it. This is a God that needs a starship that's not really a God. This is a God that has to have books to know who's good and who's bad, who created everybody. And if he really was a God, wouldn't he know? Isn't he God? Don't you see? Don't you understand? It's a scam. It's a fake. It's a fraud. It's a travesty. It's a mockery. It's a scam. It's a Travis Shamockery. There's not going to be any Great White Throne Judgment. There's no books being kept of when you're good, when you're bad, when you're naughty, when you're nice. There is somebody that's making a list. There is somebody that's checking it twice. There is somebody that's going to be judging if you're naughty or nice. He does see you when you're sleeping. He knows when you're awake. He knows if you've been bad or good, so be good for goodness sake. That's not God. That's a guy in a red suit that comes once a year. And the guy that comes once a year, that makes the list, keeps it twice, naughty, nice. And the God that you're reading about here, one is just as real as the other. And you should spend exactly as much time worrying about the one as you do the other. And you should have stopped believing in the one. Same time you did the other. It's a scam. It's a guilt and fear-based control story designed to keep you worried, to keep you afraid, because as long as you're in fear, you can never reach the higher vibrations necessary for you to escape this control grid. Don't worry about the Great White Throne. It's not going to happen. Don't worry about God keeping track of your faults. It doesn't happen. Worry about the spark of divinity that lives inside you, according to the words of the Christ. A God that needed no starship. The Christ that knows each and every one of us. The same movie, end of it, we were just speculating. Is God out there? Captain Kirk. Maybe God's not out there at all. Maybe God's right here. Human heart. Captain Kirk got that one right. He might have got a lot right. I think we got a reaction video coming up on Star Trek V, The Final Frontier. I hope that we've taken a heavy subject, made it a little lighter. I hope that we've taken a fearful subject and made it brighter. I hope that we've helped you unwind your mind. I hope that we've helped you unindoctrinate yourself. And if so, consider sponsoring my work. Go to my website, jeffreydaugherty.com, linked in the box below. One click, sponsor me through PayPal or through Patreon. And we'll keep doing what we do, and we'll keep asking the hard questions like, aren't you God? Don't you know? What does God need with a starship? Jeffrey Daugherty, Christian Whistleblower. Unwind your mind and indoctrinate yourself so we can be excellent to one another.